Hello everybody and welcome to Storytime with Etta. Today's book is called Toad's Road Code and it's written by Leyland Perree. The toad wore a coat and a big smiley grin and a little bow tie nestled under his chin. His home was a hole at the side of the brook. It was neat, it was tidy. Come in, take a look. This toad was a traveller, and he liked to roam all over the marshes surrounding his home. But one day he thought, I think I shall wander to visit my cousin who lives way out yonder. From his cosy toad hole he skipped and he hopped with a nice gooey cake, which he never once dropped. He whistled a tune as he bounced and he bopped to the road at the end of the marsh where he stopped. How diddly-do will I make it across, with neither myself nor the cake getting squashed? But I'm due at my cousin's for afternoon tea, so how hard can it be? I mean seriously. So straightening his tie, he set off at pace, with a hop, skip and a jump, and with admirable grace. He launched himself into the first lane he saw, and met with a terrible ear-splitting roar. Yikes! Went the toad, leaping out of his skin, as he covered his ears at a terrible din. Frightening, he flattened himself to the road. Goodness, what was that? Did something explode? No, it was only the sound of a car, which passed him close by and zoomed off too afar. The toad thought had been given a bit of a start, and lay in the road with his hand on his heart. How diddly-do will I ever manage to cross the next lane without any damage? But I'm due at my cousin's for afternoon tea, so how hard can it be? I mean seriously. So he gathered together his wits and his cake, and he straightened his tie and proceeded to take a very deep breath, then a hop, skip and a jump to the very next lane where he met with a bump. Up in the air went the cake and the toad. Splat went the cake as it squished on the road. Yikes went the toad, landing safe on the bank. Startled and shaken, what was that? A tank? No, not a tank, just a really big truck, which the toad was glad that he'd managed to duck. The cake, though, had taken the brunt of the wallop and lay on the road in a big gooey dollop. My cake! Wailed the toad as the truck flew on by. But he brushed himself down, then he straightened his tie and picked up all that remained of his cake, carried on to his cousin's small house by the lake. How do you diddly-do, said the toad. I'm so glad to see you, and goodness it showed. Come in, said his cousin. Sit down if you're able. We'll have us some nice gooey cake at the table. The toad sat with his cousin, a frog, and they nattered of frog and toad things, and of family matters, when finally their chat came around to the road, and how to cross safely the road safety code. Toad road code. Stop! At the drop, it's too dangerous to hop. Look, for things wheeled. Better keep your eyes peeled. Listen all around. Can you hear any sound? If there's nothing that you can see or can hear, then hop right across. You have nothing to fear. The toad thanked his cousin and ate some more cake and finally looked at his watch. It was late. Well, thanks for the tip and the cake and the tea, and I'd better be going now, seriously. The frog gave him a hug, then gave the toad his jacket and the last piece of cake in a brown paper packet. Remember the code, he said with a wave, as homeward the toad hopped feeling happy and brave. Soon, sure enough, the toad came to the place where cars and big trucks and more dangerous things raced. So he tried to remember his cousin's advice. Here goes, said the toad, and he reminded himself twice. Stop, look, and listen, the toad's cousin had said. So mopping droplets of sweat from his head, he stopped at the curb, cupped his ear, and then watched, and when all was clear, he hopped safely across. Hooray! Laughed the toad in delight and relief. Then he stuck out his chin with that tie underneath, which he straightened once more so it didn't look funny, and bounced all the way home just as brisk as a bunny. How diddly happy I am to be back. said the toad as he hung up his coat on the rack. He loosened his tie and he said, loudly yawning, "Oh, I think I shall visit again in the morning." The toad wore a coat and a big toothy grin, and a little bow tie nestled under his chin. He lives in a brook by a marsh near a road, which he crosses quite often, all thanks to the code. Can you remember the code? Toad, road, code. Stop at the drop. It's too dangerous to hop. Look for things wheeled. Better keep your eyes peeled. Listen all around. Can you hear any sound? If there's nothing that you can see or can hear, then hop right across. You have nothing to fear. That's the end of the story, boys and girls. Remember to click the like button and subscribe to hear more stories with Storytime with Etta.